I'm excited to go, and we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double down is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion instead of he can actually, believe it or not, he can actually afford to do that. Would you do that?
Well, my promise is 100, but, he's now asking to do more. I think, with your leadership, my partnership with you, with your support, I will try to make it happen.
That's good.
All right.
200. He'll make it happen. 200 billion investment.
He is a great negotiator.
Opinions vary.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Varied. It's Opinions with an A. Please like, share, and subscribe. And Donald Trump negotiating for an extra $100 billion on top of the $100 billion already promised by SoftBank, right there, live on television at a press conference. He held his first press conference today since the election, was asked a range of questions. We're going to watch a clip from the Five about that. They're going to comment on it. I'll comment along the way as well. And then you got to wait till the end because we have CNN, and CNN bringing out a fact checker for Donald Trump's first press conference since winning re-election. A press conference where there were no index cards, there were no predetermined questions, there were no predetermined reporters asking those questions. He was just taking a barrage of questions from people off the top. No teleprompter needed, no script needed. But CNN, they're going to bring out the fact checker on Donald Trump. What a joke they are. Without any further ado, let's go.
And now to President-elect Trump holding a marathon hour-long presser, his first since winning re-election. And in classic Trump form, he was making deals in real time, literally negotiating with the CEO of Japanese investment powerhouse SoftBank, who had just promised a $100 billion investment into the American economy. Watch here.
I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America.
And we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double down is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion instead of he'll make it happen. 200 billion investment.
He is a great negotiator.
That's so great. And the Trump media feeding frenzy is back. The president-elect taking question after question. I counted 33. Here he is sparring with reporters.
33. That's about 32 more than Biden's taken at a press conference in his whole presidency, I think.
The administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act.
Yeah, it's called treason.
We're bringing business back, and they're all coming back. We lost them over years of stupidity, a golden age of America, I call it. It's begun.
How do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points.
Are you entertaining the idea of preemptive strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities?
Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? I don't want to insult you. I just think it's just not something that I would ever answer.
Do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccines?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. I think you're going to find that Bobby is a very rational guy. I found him to be very rational.
The press is, Jesse, finally going to be able to put on their running shoes and get ready because with Biden, they haven't had to do anything over the past 6 months, maybe even a year, right?
4 years, Dana.
He hasn't done that much. And if you look at the split screen between what Biden did at the DNC annual Christmas party and then Trump, it's like a tale of two cities. You have a tent that's growing and people are jumping on board, and then people are jumping overboard on the Democratic side, and it was sleepy and filled with regret and sadness.
A lot of shrinkage, you may say, on that side of the table.
Say.
So do you remember how venomous the questions were when he was president? It was just an accusation. It wasn't even a question. It's like, are you a traitor or are you a racist? Mm-hmm. I detected a lot more respectful policy questions this time, and I hope it continues. Maybe they were all Breitbart reporters. I don't know, but I liked the tone, so let's keep that up. The SoftBank thing was genius because SoftBank, it is the largest venture capital firm in the world. They invest in tech. So when SoftBank invests in anything, everybody gets on board, like herd mentality, right? Like if Buffett or like Nancy Pelosi invests somewhere, everyone's going to get in because it only goes up. And negotiating out there in public. Like,
Yeah.
imagine you went to the mall with your wife and there was cameras there. And all of a sudden she was like, Jesse, you really love me, right? Let's spend twice as much. And you're looking at reporters like,
Okay.
okay.
She's a good negotiator.
Yeah, she's a good negotiator. That was really funny. And they grabbed him here and brought him in like he was 6 years old. It's kind of like, remember when Tampa Bay all of a sudden signed Tom Brady, Dana?
Surprised they didn't pat him on the head.
I do remember that.
And then all of a sudden, all the free agents started flocking to the Bucs because they want to be next to Tom Brady. They want a ring. That's what's happening with SoftBank. It's great PR strategy, and it happened during the tax cuts in 2018. Do you remember back then after he signed the Trump tax cuts, and then all of these corporations start making these announcements that they're going to give bonuses? And they're like, I'm going to give a bonus to every employee. Oh, my cash bonus is going to be twice as much. And it was just great PR and great momentum. And this is what you're seeing here. I remember I gave my kids an allowance adjustment. I don't know if you guys saw the press release, but it's great. And to have Biden, who hasn't done a press conference since July 11th,
Wow.
where he lied and said he was going to stay in.
Yeah.
And see this guy, you remember why Howard Stern said he's the best interview? Because he answers everything. And it's not just because he has convictions and confidence. He has respect for the people.
And President Trump said a line that I think people have kind of gotten around to, but he nailed it when he said, my first term, everyone was fighting me, and this term, everyone wants to be my friend, Harold. So you do see a lot of business people saying, okay, let's go.
I don't think it's going to last. I hope it does. I don't think it's going to last. I just don't think it's going to last. The media is disgusting.
On board.
Without doubt. First of all, it's good to be back around the table
yes.
with everybody. Had a great time. I think Jesse nailed it. I think you're right. I think this president, one of the strengths of President Trump was what he showed there in that press conference. To take whatever it was, 30 questions, 40 questions. I listened to a lot of it. I didn't see it. It was in a car, so I was listening on radio. I thought his best answer was one of the ones we played where they asked him, I think it's really a metaphor for the way that he kind of conducts himself. When they ask him, are you thinking about preemptive strikes towards Iran? He said, well, that's a dumb question. If I am thinking about it, why would I tell you I'm thinking about preemptive strikes? And if I'm not thinking about it, why would I tell you?
Right.
I think the country got another taste of what it was like 8 years ago when he was president, for those who are 4 to 8 years ago. And this press conference here, and starting it off with the SoftBank CEO, was as bold, I think, and as smart a way to do it. It reminded me of the great Michael Deaver working for President Reagan. The backdrop is always really strong, even if you have it on mute. I know sometimes people tell me not to watch things on mute, but if you watch this on mute, this was as powerful as it was listening. It might even been more powerful because I think the president is also entertaining in his talk and the way he talks about things. But you're right, Dana. The press is going to have to get ready because this guy is going to give a press conference every day on every issue.
Energy and excitement. And I think one of the things that he did today on a Monday morning was say, all right, I've got this momentum. How do I keep it going? Give me the ball.
So that's why I could tolerate Harold Ford Jr. on the 5. If this was Jessica Tarloff, she would have just called Trump a racist and a Yahtzee because somehow in that press conference, that's what she would have gotten out of it because she's dumb.
I can run through.
Yep. And I mean, when you think about how many days, what is it, 36 days before he takes office? Is it something like that? Anyway, he is so energized. He is so organized. He's got, all of these nominations, and he comes out and he says, this is going to be the golden age of America. And then he starts with this guy from SoftBank with $100 billion, promising 100,000 new jobs for Americans. I mean, you realize that he has the capacity to deliver. He has the capacity to unite the country. He has the capacity, to unite the party. And I don't think there's any greater example of that than there was at the Army-Navy game. Because it's not just the Army-Navy game, when they went crazy with chants of USA, USA, but think about who he was in that box with. He's got Elon and J.D. Vance, and he's got Vivek and Mike Johnson and Danny Penny, and he's got all of these people to show that the Republican Party is united. No more rhinos. You're a rhino. Get lost. You don't matter anymore. What he's got is a united party.
They're not going to go that easy, Judge Jeannine. Unfortunately, they're not going to go that easily.
A united country. And then you got a guy like Van Jones who says, hey, dude, this guy's smarter than me and you. So you've not got the left saying this guy is really smart. He's going to deliver for us. And then we no longer have to deal with the frustration of Joe Biden turning his bobbing head and just, making a turnaround with a sarcastic smile and not answering questions. It was insulting to all of us. So I'm very excited about all of this. And
the media did nothing about it. Nothing. That's what I'm saying. The media is disgusting. Disgusting. Joe Biden couldn't do what Trump just did on his best day when he was in his prime. Joe Biden couldn't hold a press conference like that. Kamala Harris couldn't either. And never was a question for 4 years like, why aren't we hearing anything from these people? Why is all those notes on index cards? Why are all the questions predetermined? Why are all the reporters being asked to ask the questions predetermined? Nobody cared. They're disgusting.
I think it's going to be great. And I think the fear mongering, if the left decides they want to get started, I think it's just going to be, outweighed by the support that the left has, because the left wants safety. They want jobs. They want security. And, it's something that we all want.
He's going to have to deliver on that.
Kat, the
And he will.
Democrats seem like they're in like an endless game of bumper cars since the election. Like they just keep hitting each other. They can't actually get any momentum. They're stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you watch something like this, and it's impossible to ignore how differently you feel just as a human being watching that versus watching Biden have a press conference. Because I think regardless of politics, when we would ever watch Joe Biden speak, you'd be holding your breath a little bit. You'd be kind of waiting for the thing where you're like, oh, okay, he made it through that one. And how different is that from the way that Trump handled this? I also agree. What an answer to that Iran question, Harold. I mean, kind of like, why would I answer that? Could you imagine? He said, could you imagine if I answered that? And I was left feeling, I wonder how that reporter feels after asking that question. And you can compare that to whenever Biden was done speaking, I would think his poor PR team sometimes. I'd be like, how are they going to address this thing that made no sense, that thing that made no sense? But also in the previous iteration of Trump, there'd be a lot of times, I think, where I would be thinking also, oh no, his poor PR team.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that. When I was watching this, some of it was some fun, good, ribbing, but none of it was, it was fun to watch. And that's, I think, what Republicans had this time around. The Democrats didn't. Democrats was a lot of gloom and doom, and Republicans seemed to just be having a good time. And watching this, he seemed to be having a good time.
And the thing with the Iran question, there's a way to ask that you wouldn't be admonished like that.
Yeah.
Like if the reporter had said, do you believe Israel has right to defend itself from nuclear weapons?
Yeah.
Okay. Now he still might have said, I'm not answering that because I know what you're trying to get at, but still there's a way to not be admonished in front of the world.
Yeah.
If you care about those things.
All right, well, there was the 5, and pretty much on target, I think. Harold Ford, I tolerate him. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's fair. Obviously, you don't agree with his politics, but I think he's fair. I think he's objective, and I think he's the best person that the 5 have on that show as far as the other side goes. Not even close. Now we're going to get into the ridiculousness. Now we're going to get into CNN throwing a twerp fact checker into Donald Trump's press conference. Get a load of this one.
There was a lot of lying from the president-elect at this press conference, but I think the most dangerous part was an equivocation. It wasn't really a claim, but he was asked whether he thought there was a link between vaccines and autism, and he equivocated. He said, well, we have some brilliant people looking at this, and he talked.
So what? So what? But yeah, that's been settled because you guys have said it's been settled, right? Because the science has said it's settled. Have you not learned anything that people don't trust the science anymore after what we went through 2-3 years ago? Don't you get that yet, clown? You don't get it yet, do you? You'll never get it.
Talked about the increased prevalence of autism diagnoses. Look, there is no link between vaccines and autism. This notion has been discredited by study after study over decades. The idea that there is some connection came from a thoroughly discredited, in fact, scandalous, fraudulently altered study in the 1990s.
Right, a study that I guess the big money wasn't in on, right? Listen, guy, we're on to this crap now. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but you know what? Maybe we need to study it again, because where are all these cases coming from now? When I was younger, not one kid had a peanut allergy. Now all of a sudden you got kids that can't walk into the same building where there's a peanut. Nobody had peanut allergies. Nobody had any of these allergies now that all these kids have, and all the other things like you're talking about, autism. It was non-existent literally. Now everybody has it. Every kid has something. So where is it coming from? You guys don't want to find out, right?
That should just be ignored, dismissed again, because it was fraudulent. And so the idea that, well, we're just going to look into this, I think is dangerous to consider, because the idea is simply wrong.
You can't look into something. Do you believe what we're hearing right now? Who is this guy anyway? Are you a doctor? I don't trust pretty much doctors at this point that go on CNN. But who are you? You're a fact checker, and you're telling us that don't even look at this. Don't even look into these things. RFK Jr. Trump, what are you doing having this nut job? Even look into this stuff. These people are shameless hacks.
I'll pivot to some other topics. He talked, as usual, about tariffs. Said under his first presidency, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. That money was paid by Americans. It is American importers who pay the tariffs, not Chinese exporters. And many of those importers pass along the costs to U.S. consumers.
I don't remember paying very much extra for a lot of things. That's just me. Somebody drop down the comments if you guys paid more for stuff when Trump was president because of tariffs. Somebody do that. I want a fact check on what he just said. Somebody let me know, fact check it, and let me know if you paid more for certain things. I don't know what he's talking about. I remember everything was less expensive. That's what I remember.
He said no previous president had tariffs on China. That's wrong. He said there was no inflation.
What previous presidents had tariffs on China then? I'm not saying you're wrong there. Then back it up by telling me which presidents. Can't do it. Why not? Let me know which presidents then.
Under his own presidency, despite the tariffs, certainly lower than during the Biden presidency, but there was 8% cumulative inflation during his presidency, so not nothing.
What's the cumulative inflation during Joe Biden's presidency? 30%? What is it? What is it? Trump handed Joe Biden, I believe, 2.1% inflation, something like that. Guys are a joke.
Talking about health, he also said, Europe has lower mortality than us, or better mortality, and they don't use pesticides. Europe uses hundreds of thousands of tons of pesticides every year, so I'm not sure where he got that idea. And
what kind of pesticides? I'm just asking questions. See, this is CNN. This is classic CNN. We have somebody just, boom, bullet pointing, shooting out things like, this, and nobody's asking a question like I'm asking right now. There's no context, there's no nuance, there's nothing. What are the pesticides? What's in the pesticides? Are they organic pesticides that they're using in Europe? What are the differences between pesticides they're using in Europe or pesticides they're using here? Are there any differences? This is what I'm talking about. People that watch this and just take it in like a zombie need help.
Earlier in the press conference, Dana, he said over and over, I think 3 times, that during his presidency, there were no wars, like no wars, period, in the world. That is simply not true, a rewriting of history.
You're taking that completely out of context. See what I mean? Now all of a sudden we're going to get deep into context. He said there's no wars. Well, I mean, there were wars. There were some wars places. People were fighting.
One research institution said there were active armed conflicts in about 50 states in 2020, including, of course, civil wars in Yemen, in Syria, in Somalia. We had an active Israeli-Palestinian conflict, U.S. troops deployed in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and elsewhere.
We weren't at war. We weren't funding proxy wars in Ukraine against Russia. We didn't have the Middle East on fire with Israel battling everybody around them. Really? That's what he's talking about, you moron.
The idea that this was a world at peace left by Donald Trump to Joe Biden
it was
not true.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, thank you for all that. And I just want to underscore where you and I started our conversation, Daniel, which is on the suggestion that it is possible that autism is caused by vaccines. As you said, there was a 1998 study that has been completely discredited.
Yes, completely.
There have been rigorous peer-reviewed studies that are credible, including some that analyze more than 1 million children that have shown there is no link between autism and vaccines.
That's great. So I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not true. Should it not be looked at again? You're talking about 1998, Dana Bash. That's 1998. We're talking, what, about 27 years ago now? Well, maybe we should revisit it. Maybe we should put some fresh eyes on it. Because obviously it hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. So maybe while we look at it, we could actually figure out what the hell is going on. I tell you. You imagine if Donald Trump would have lost this election? Could you imagine if Donald Trump would have lost this election and Kamala Harris was going to be the president of the United States for the next 4 years? I can't imagine. There was divine intervention here. I believe it. I don't care if you believe it or not. I do. God has saved the country for another 4 years. And the Republicans better take advantage of it. And as I said before, think of it as a football field. We're still, as Republicans, on our own 5-yard line. We just made a goal line stand. Okay? We made it back to our own 5-yard line right now. We need to push the ball back down the field into their territory now. They need to play defense. No more pausing at our own 5-yard line, and then 4 years later we get somebody else coming in that's going to then push the ball over the goal line because they were that close. They were that close to scoring the winning touchdown to destroy America. I'm not being hyperbolic. I don't care if you disagree with me. Opinions vary. You're allowed to disagree. I'm telling you what I think. We were saved. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. I'll leave it there. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Please follow me on TikTok at Opinions Vary, on X at Opinions Vary. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time right here at Opinions Vary.
Opinions vary.